Welcome to this edition of Global Talks, today with a special focus on creativity. I'm Malin Persson. Our discussion today is broadcasted from a place supposedly boiling of creativity, the offices of Film i Väst. Joining me in this discussion are Frida Edman, director of the Gothenburg Book Fair, and Mikael Fellenius, who is the CEO of Film i Väst. And as always, my dear colleague, Jan Edshage, is also here, not least to support us all with questions from you attending remotely. Welcome to all of you. As you know, those of you who have attended previous discussions, is that our global talks provide insight to interesting topics and is put together by the Global Business Gate project, which, as you know, is an energizing meeting place in the heart of Gothenburg. In the future, we will also have a new peninsula and buildings, but today we have this, a virtual hub for individuals and organizations who want to learn from each other in the context of global business. Today we will be discussing creativity, and this is a topic that is very close to our heart at Global Business Gate, and we have put a lot of thought into how have we managed, if we have managed, to stay creative during the pandemic. And I would first like to invite you, Frida, to share your thoughts. And for those of you, if there are anyone out there who doesn't know Frida, Frida is currently the director of the Nordic country's biggest cultural event, the Gothenburg Book Fair. And this is an event that every year gathers 80,000 visitors at the end of September in Gothenburg. For over 35 years, book lovers such as myself have pilgrimaged to the Swedish Exhibition Center and for 4 days have met with authors and readers and discussed and had a glass of wine in the bar. And every year more than 300 seminars, physical seminars, have been arranged, and the focus is obviously literature and books and stories and education. And our question today is obviously how has that been possible, if at all, to stay in some kind of form during the pandemic. And you, Frida, has led the business during this very cumbersome time. And I know that last year, in 2020, you had to change the plans that was very much up and running and do a digital event, and we want to learn more about that. Frida has a background in media and communication and pedagogics, and you have worked as a teacher in media and history, which is a very broad background, and with strategic questions and also in the tech industry. So your background is so interesting and broad, and now you're focusing on what we share, the love for books.
Yes.
So please, Frida, share your experience from the book fair.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I would like to start with that. I truly believe that books and stories change the world, and I think that we need the books and stories to survive, especially in this time. So that is, I think, for our team, that is the passion that we have at the book fair. So it would be quite easy to say for a year ago, to say that, okay, let's cancel the fair, see you when we are back on track, we cannot do the fair, we will see you in a couple of years. But that was never a question for us. So a regular fair is about 80,000 visitors, but it's also about it's 1,000 journalists covering the event, and it's about 100 agents, of course, buying and selling literature rights. But the main thing is the seminars and the meeting between authors and the readers. That's what we love, and that is what we want to provide, no matter what. So when the pandemic hit us for a year ago, I mean, everything was so unsecure. There was a lot of questions. How long is the pandemic here for, and how will it affect us, and what should we do, or should we do something or not, and so on. But very, we had about 6 months left to the regular fair, and it takes a while to plan a fair. And of course, a regular year is a very creative work. we have to, look at the exhibition and at the fair and all the seminars and discuss what do we do different from this year for next year and so on. But to be honest, the creative process, it takes time. And 1 year is not that much of time when you plan a huge event. So with the pandemic, we quite quickly said that, okay, let's get together and just sit down and discuss what should we do instead of the regular fair. And the first thing that we said was that we cannot take a regular fair and put it in a digital format. We need to do something different. We didn't want to, do a digital conference or a digital fair with digital booths or stands and so on. We wanted to do, provide something else that we also could use in the future.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So when we were about 4 persons that just sat down and locked ourselves into a conference room, and we didn't get out from there until we had an idea. So that idea we took to the partners and to the board, and we tried to explain something that we wanted to do, but there was no product. It was just papers and and thoughts and ideas.
And creativity.
Of
Yes.
course. So that was the start of the book fair play, as we call it. So what we basically did was that we provided 150 seminars in a digital format, and our vision was more Netflix and Viaplay instead of a digital conference. And instead of Gothenburg and the Swedish Exhibition Center, we built some studios in Gothenburg, but also in Stockholm and in South Africa and in New York and in Malmö and so on. So it was quite a different event, I would say.
So you managed to reach out in another way than you normally do, actually.
Oh yes, that was very important for us. Normally there is over 80,000 visitors, but we had about 700 views.
Okay.
700,000 views.
Yeah.
And also about when we looked into who these people were, there were about 25% that have never been at the fair. So that is very important also for us to meet, new readers, to work with reading promotion and get more people to discover the book's wonderful word. So yeah, that was very important. And also we can see that men doesn't read that much as women do, but with the digital format, there were a lot more of them. So we met new people, and that's of course very important for the future too.
And for the future, can you, from the 80,000, which is a lot of people,
yes,
to 700,000, which is an enormous amount of people, can you in the future track those 700,000? Are they now in some kind of CRM system so you can reach out to them again, or?
Some of them, almost 30,000 of them has registered at our webpage, and they are now, people that we actually communicate with.
Yeah.
And of course they are very important for us. But we also can see, at the global map that there are people and groups in South Africa and in the Nordic countries and so on. And I maybe they don't go to the book fair in the future, but they will take part of the seminars in the digital format.
Okay. It's so interesting. I have so many questions, but one thing, when you described that you were getting into a room, a very limited amount of people, trying to create what you didn't know what to expect, but you wanted to create something. And then you described that you came out of that room.
Yes.
And you were to introduce your thoughts to a board or to some. Were they your recipients? Were they up to speed? Was it easy to convey your thoughts to them?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Both, I think. I mean, it depends on who you are, I think. If you see change as a positive thing, you know, welcome innovation and creation and so on. But if you are a little bit more, I don't know, if you are safe with the traditional way and that you learn to just work with the regular fare and so on, you need the more teaser you need. Yeah, it's yes and no, but I think that we did a quite good work because we also had some big partners and people wanting to do this with us, and especially the authors, of course, because with the pandemic they didn't have a chance to reach out to the readers, so they were very, very happy that we did something and that we tried to do something that gained them.
And I know also from discussions we've had prior to this discussion that you stated, I think, that it's been helpful to have a solid foundation as a backer in this.
Yes, I think leadership, creative leadership, is very much about to say yes, not to say no. So even if I'm not the most creative one, I think that my role is to create the opportunities, to say that let's see what we can do and let's try to get the board with us and all the partners with us and so on. So I'm very glad that I'm in that foundation because the leaders in the organization is also very much about saying yes. So I think that's a main thing when it comes to creativity. And I mean, Sweden is one of the countries that is most innovative in the world. I think it's Sweden and Korea and some other countries. And I think that we want to work in those working places where people say yes.
I love that. Creativity is about also leadership that dares to say yes. Thank you, Frida, and we will come back to you, obviously, and discuss further. Mikael Fellenius, welcome to your own site.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are the CEO of Väst, and I think that when I first met you, you were the CEO of the Gothenburg International Film Festival. So this being in the context of creativity of film is really your playing field. I know that you have a master in fine arts and an executive MBA and so forth. Väst is stated on your own homepage, one of Europe's most successful co-producers and Scandinavia's preeminent regional film fund of feature films and drama production. That's very prestigious, and in these offices here, I see a lot of posters of productions that I have enjoyed watching. How on earth can you keep creativity and produce film during a pandemic?
Yeah, let me start with just joining Frida for a quick
Please
moment.
do.
And I totally agree that it's important to meet. It's the same within the film industry. It's a traveling circus. So all the people in the film industry are truly missing the opportunity to meet at festivals and Gothenburg, but of course Cannes Festival, the Venice, Toronto, Berlin, etc. It's very important to get back to that soon. It's not just of enjoying ourselves. It's a very important business place as the book fair. So, but picking up on the question, the film industry has been suffering very, very hard lately. The 5 last years has been a tremendous challenge for the industry, and on top of that, the pandemic. So what happens when all these sort of affecting our business models and the theater closings, film production has almost not at all been possible to pursue. Except for Sweden, which makes us really, happy that we could still have our own co-productions running. But getting back to how to achieve that position, it's been almost close to 30 years of clear strategy, I think, with a lot of creative thinking. What would be a production that we could be part of to put ourselves on the map? So that's basically have been the hard work, but also to cope up with good directors, script writers that we believe have been good opportunities for us to invest in. Since we're not producing ourselves, we're just putting the money into it, but we don't leave it there. We follow the production very closely from the start until it's finished, and it eventually, comes up in the theater or in a streaming platform. But this has taken a long time to develop sort of and a lot of co-workers have come in and gone out of this organization, but the DNA of Film Invest has always been creativity and trust ourselves in the quality decision and have close dialogue with the production companies. So I think that's been very important to bear in mind, that we have to trust our background, where we come from, and pursue that no matter who comes in and goes out of the organization.
Interesting. And what you're saying is also, and I know that you've stated this in public as well, that you say Sweden managed to keep on making films, and you have been able to do that in a corona-safe means. Did that require a lot of extraordinary efforts, or?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And
yes, to that one.
funds, yeah.
Well, a few major productions that are really, a national epos like the Utvandrarna, the Swedish title. I wouldn't know what that would be in English.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Thank you. And a Swedish very big drama production called Highby Affair.
Yeah.
The Royal Affair, I would be guessing it would be in English eventually.
Yeah.
Productions that were planned to occur and be shot outside Sweden because of the financial incentives in Hungary and Republic of Czech Republic. But due to the pandemic, those countries were closing down, and as a result of that, they lost a lot of financing. So, and we were part of the production from the beginning, but we ended up having a discussion: how can we solve this? Well, come up with more money. It was one solution, but not only that, it cost Film Invest a lot of investment to really reinforce those productions and a few more. But also to find innovative things to actually make this happen in a country like Sweden. That is probably the only exception that has been possible to shoot in.
Yeah.
So it's just been for the production companies, of course, most hard work, but we could help out. Just of relying on our own decision making and being quick, and also be partners to the bitter end, no matter what happens. And this was very important because those two productions and a few more are really important for our future
of course.
Development. But I can also give a little funny but important anecdote of what could happen during the pandemic. We are also part and a major investor in the Ruben Östlund's next upcoming movie, The Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
It's a international production, and we have a major stake there. And in February, they were shooting in our studio in Trollhättan, and the pandemic hit, and everything closes down. And a lot of famous actors from Los Angeles were not possible to come to Sweden. Woody Harrelson, one of them, that is having this main character on this cruise ship, and he's the captain.
Yeah, hard to do without.
Yeah, what do you do? And every day cost lots of money.
Yeah,
and it was postponed for him to come. I think it was in June, and it was until the day before he showed up in Sweden, unclear if he would be possible to enter in Sweden. So I spoke to, I can't remember, but possibly every official authority I could reach out to: the embassy, the Department for Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the police department, security police in Sweden. We help out. And then Trollhättan Airport said, Yeah, you can land him here if he comes with a private jet. So the CEO of Trollhättan, he just, well, we make this happen. We just close the airport and we just open a slot if they can tell us when they come and which aircraft. Creativity.
It will be sorted
really,
out, yeah.
That wouldn't happen at Landvetter. It's a good airport, but there's a little bit more bureaucracy there.
Yeah. And this is so interesting. Thank you, Mike. Just before following up on that to both of you, for us as film lovers, what you're saying now is that, yes, there has been some kind of production during this year, at least here, but is there a future for the movie theater, or will all of us just be streaming from our sofa at home and episodes, or will there be real films in a real movie theater?
Yes, I mean, really, that tendency was happening before the pandemic.
Yeah.
The streaming players like Netflix, HBO, and you name them, there's a bunch of them out there, but Netflix probably the most well-known. They were really coming in and taking over the film industry and changing the value chain. I mean, they were not just screening, they were producing, financing, and distributing and screening at the same time. The old system sort of were challenged. And the audience are getting used to, whenever, at what time you wish, you can just pick up your iPad or your television set or your home movie theater. But that was truly sped up by the pandemic. So the estimates from the streaming companies, really, they were exploding during the pandemic. Of course, you couldn't enter the movie theater. But I'd say, and some futurists claim that the movie theater is dead. I would claim the opposite. It's as important as the book fair. People would like to meet and go out and even enjoy movies at movie theaters. But I think the movie theater itself will change. It'll be more, it'll be important for them to focus on what could we offer that is competitive in comparison to everything else that you spend money on your free time. So I think that it will be changed. We'll see different kind of movie theaters. I mean, it's nothing new that you can go to certain movie theaters and enjoy eating and drinking while you are watching the movie. But I think there will happen even more than that. Yeah. And the movie theater itself will show other things. Of course, there will be sports, there will be gaming, there will be opera, symphony orchestras, digital book fairs. So the possibilities are actually endless, I'd say.
Yeah. I think, if I may.
Yes, please.
I think it's very interesting to hear that creativity is also about finding ways during the pandemic, but also it's about, I think it's very important to have the talks and to talk about what kind of society do we want to wake up to after the pandemic. Because if we want cinemas, if we want book fairs or other cultural events, we need to, shout out to the politicians and to say that, okay, we maybe need some help here to survive, because we think that in the long term, the society and the democracy feels better if we have all these platforms. So I think that's quite hard right now, because it doesn't really matter how creative we are as a book fair, because today there is not a working business model for the digital formats for us. So we strongly still believe in the physical meeting, of course, and I also hope and think that after the pandemic we will be even more hungry to meet, but maybe we will think twice where we go, and we will choose a little bit, with some extra force where we go and how we spend our time and what we pay and so on. So I think, the creativity, so it's not just about being creative. It's about the decisions and regulations and so on.
So what I hear both of you actually saying, it's a quite, you share the same kind of experiences, obviously. What you're saying is that 2020 and the beginning of 2021, we'll see how long this will take us, has required a lot of creativity from within the organizations to find new means. For the future, it's also important, not least, to be creative when it comes to business models, because obviously how you get paid is, of course, important for you directly and for you indirectly. So how will that evolve, and can you learn from each other? And in your industry, is this something that you discuss a lot?
We are investing and recouping or get a return on investment on some parts of the film. But for example, looking at the movie theater, I think, and this has been spoken about, but new business models that would easily be it would be easy to implement is, for example, have a subscription at the movie theater, a little app, like the streaming players are having. That would give, I mean, you and I, in average, we are going to 2 movies per year. That's statistically proven. But if we pay for 1,200 crowns a month, we still might go to 3 or 4 and leave the rest just to the streaming player as an income. That would be business development. That would be easy. But it's a very conservative industry, and there are some pitfalls. Absolutely, I realize that. But I think we will see a lot of different kind of business models like that in other businesses as well. But especially in the movie theater, because they really have a challenge, but they also have a lot of opportunities.
I agree. We need to look into different and other business models, and also, we need to be experts in how do people consume culture in the future. And I mean, that is questions that we discussed before the pandemic, but now we really need to, make things happen. So at the Swedish Exhibition Center, we are some leaders that looks into these questions, and we think one question that we discuss is what kind of position do we want to take after the pandemic? Do we want to be a regular venue house creating fairs, or do we want to be more like a media platform with different events, but also products and so on? So that we are in the middle of a creative process, and we will see what that will bring us, I think.
Excellent. We will come back to this discussion. What we will do now is to listen to some student, and as many of you know, at Global Business Gate, we love students. And we invite students to develop and challenge us. And we have since long a cooperation with the International Youth Think Tank, through which we reach students from different parts of the world. Today we have invited, at a distance, of course, Persiana Axentieva and Francisco José López Vélez to share their thoughts on creativity during the pandemic. Persiana is Bulgarian and is currently academic tutor at the University of Maastricht, where she is engaged in research on leadership. Francisco is Italian and Colombian and is studying a truly global master program, and this semester he is based in Stockholm. And let us now listen to their experience.
A lot of people think that creativity is the freedom to express yourself. Your thoughts, feelings, ideas, dreams, nightmares. However, for me, the role of creativity goes even beyond that. It is one of the most important skills that we humans have because it differentiates us from animals, from robots, and it really drives innovation and progress. If you think about it, creativity has driven the human evolution and helped many people in overcoming problems and working out solutions. So in challenging situations, creativity and resilience are probably the most important human skills. And this is something that I realized during the world pandemic that we are facing right now. So many people were locked in their homes. They were forced to learn to apply creativity in a completely different context, not in a creative task or art, but in their daily lives. For example, they had to learn how to meet friends virtually, how to use their free time during quarantine, and most importantly, how to still find happiness every day in such a difficult time. So creativity is therefore such an inspiring trait as it's transferable. It's not limited to only one context or situation. It is incredibly strong force that drives progress and change, but most importantly, it is the thing that helps us feel alive, overcome difficulties, and find sense in every day on this earth.
There are highs and there are lows. And I guess you know that. They're both equally important moments in life. But it is in the lows that creativity often unleashes exponentially. It is in these moments when we need the most creative solutions and outcomes that can help us deal with unexpected situations. In my personal experience, it was precisely during the most difficult moments of my life that creativity emerged and helped me cope with my feelings, emotions, thoughts, and ideas. I see creativity as the expression of human thoughts and feelings through the creation or development of new projects and outcomes. During the last few months, I've used creativity through writing and podcasting in order to give order to my thoughts and find out the purpose of my actions. And you know, when we face unexpected situations, when we all face unexpected situations, creative outcomes multiply. In my opinion, that is exactly what we need now, to acknowledge that we cannot control everything, yet at the same time we have the agency to be resilient through creativity.
Thank you. Excellent. And as you saw, Francisca was even sitting outdoors to really keep a distance, and we're happy about that. It's so good to have those students with us. And personally, I must say, I'm eager to listen to your reflections on what we learned. But I was taken both because our students referred to what you said before, that creativity and democracy goes hand in hand, which I think is interesting. And also that they say that creativity is a way to overcome difficulties and build resilience. So those were some of my takeaways. What did you think when you listened to this?
Well, I think I was thinking about I think it was Francisco saying during lows, creativity really comes to us as a tool, because you're pretty much pushed into a situation where you have to find other solutions, see things and your own business or your private life, for that matter, in a different way. So it really pushes you into a new way of thinking. So for some people, creativity might have been released. Unwillingly.
Yes.
But I guess also for the normal creative people that are working with creativity are speeding up and get more excited with the opportunities. And I can see it within the film industry, for example, that it has given a lot of creators, writers especially, more time to create new scripts, new stories, new dreams to give to the audience.
And Francisco also said that on himself, writing and podding and all of that. What did you think, Frida?
No, I agree with all that, but at the same time, I truly believe that it's in between people, and when we meet, ideas become true, and we gain perspectives when we talk to each other, and when we actually physical meet, and also when you meet people that you wouldn't meet in your daily work or in your area and so on, when you get together in some spots in the society where you get, to meet people that you wouldn't meet. So I can see both perspectives, but one thing that I thought about was also, change. Some people say that people are afraid of change, and that it's very hard, it makes you insecure and so on. But I think that change is something good, and it's just that people wants to know, okay, I know that we have to change, but I need also to know what is going on tomorrow.
Yes.
So if we can talk about that, even if we now don't know what's going on tomorrow, we can say that. And we can say that the future is very insecure, but we need to work with the change and so on. And it could be some opportunities here that we need to discover. So I agree with the highs and lows, and especially in the time of pandemic, because I mean, for a book fair, it's also, I mean, it's a crisis. It's crisis around the world, and in that crisis, you need to be very reflective and creative, and to be, you know, to handle the crisis at the same time that you are creative. That is a challenge.
That is really, and I think it's really put the word agility.
Oh yes,
That was high on our agenda in business, also before, but it's even stronger now.
It is, and I think that is a skill that we will look for even stronger in the future.
Yeah.
So I think that when we open up the society after the pandemic, we also need to think about what kind of future skills do we want in our organization. And of course, creativity is one of them, but also, you know, how do you network, and how do you build your ideas, and how do you work with the media literacy and so on. So it's, I mean, as an organization, we need to think about, okay, if you want to work here, what kind of skills do you need to have?
Yeah.
I also totally agree, and it was good that you put that perspective, added that on, because I think the leadership in these times are extremely challenged.
Yes.
And you need to interact in a different way. Of course, we do Zoom and we do Teams and everything like
It's
that.
so boring.
But it's a little bit boring, and I for sure know that even we are trying our hardest to get good meetings, but still we are missing the people we interact with physically in meetings as we used to do. I think there'll be a change, though. We will be more, you know, eager and you know, receptive for doing digital meetings, but it can't really replace the physical meeting.
No.
And especially not the fairs, the book fairs, the festivals, fairs in general. I mean, the business places where we meet and, you know, even shake hands.
Yeah.
Or whatever
Even
we do.
shake hands. That's excellent. I know that some of you are writing down questions, and my colleague Jan has alerted me that there is already now a question. If you have even more. Excellent, thank you. We have a question here that is very interesting, and that is related to trust. When you have to meet at a distance, what happens to trust? I mean, trust between boards and organizing committees, and trust between co-workers and individuals. So what would that mean? How can we build trust at a distance, if at all?
I think that you need to have trust before. I mean, I think that culture is structure for breakfast. So if you have a strong culture where people in your organization trust each other, I mean, it's quite much easier to work with each other in a distance. But of course, I mean, I agree with the physical meeting. Even in that case, is very important. But yeah, I think it's about the trust from me as a leader to my colleagues, but also the other way around. That is very important to, you know, to have in an organization that is in this creative process.
I couldn't say it better myself. no more to add. Well, just one little thing. I agree with Frida that it's a mutual trust that has to be. But also, I see the difficulties in establishing new relationships only by doing it through Teams or Zoom or whatever. It could be possible, but I think that's a very hard way to build in trust in a new relationship.
And I think, building on what you're saying, and I know that, not least in the book fair, you have had to let go of people, unfortunately, which is very sad, and we hope to be able to bring people back. But in some aspects, even at the book fair, it might be that you have also recruited new competences that was needed. So also to onboard new people, to build trust, when you're supposed to wave at a distance, that's also a hard start for anyone in a new organization. We had another question here as well. Thank you, and we appreciate this a lot. And this is based on both of you. You are extremely international organizations, both of you, and you mentioned, Mikael, on Sweden being more perhaps open, or it has been doable to do something. And you have the references to Berlin, you have Cannes, and you have the references to South Africa and other parts of the world. Is there a difference in how your colleagues globally has handled the pandemic, for better and worse?
Yes, I would say so, actually. A year ago, many book fairs in the world, they changed the dates, or they rescheduled the dates for the book fairs. So they have one thought in their mind, like, okay, the pandemic is here, let's move the book fairs from spring 2020 to the autumn 2020. Yeah. And when the pandemic was affected during the autumn as well, they had to change to spring 2021, and now they are changing the date again. So that is not easy, I would say. But the difference between Gothenburg International Book Fair and other international book fairs is also that we focus on the meeting between readers and authors. The other book fairs is very much about literature rights and the business. So they are, I mean, we can work with the digital format and provide all these seminars, but it's quite harder to work with the actually business meeting between agents, and I think that is a difficulty that the other book fairs have. But we now see that some are opening up at digital events, but not that big as we do. And we are a small book fair if you compare. Yeah, so I think when we talk to all the international book fair directors, we discuss, of course, the book fair's future. Because if you don't have the huge, the world's biggest book fair is in Frankfurt, and it's very important for the international book rights selling and buying. But we also have Bologna Book Fair with all the children books. Yes. And actually now we see that we don't buy international rights from book fair, from children books into Sweden. And maybe that is one explanation that all this business meeting is not taking place. I don't know, but yeah.
Yes, compared to our colleagues out in Europe doing the same thing as we do, financing regional film funds and film institutes, there has been quite a lot of different ways of handling the pandemic. Some, as a public entity, has closed down. So, well, we'll just take a rest. We have just running our business as usual, and I'd say we have had even more incoming projects the past year and this beginning of this year. But so it really has to do with the way you look at your own business. But for private entities, I'd say there's no possibility of closing down. And they have been fighting so hard, and that includes the festivals. They have handled the pandemic pretty much in the same as the book fairs. Yes. Digital, hybrid, sort of mixed versions of the Festival Berlin, divided it into one industry platform, entirely digital, in February and moved the audience festivals
Okay.
to the summer. So they divided up, split it up in two.
Good.
That's
Good
one way of
thinking.
doing it.
Yeah.
Cannes Film Festival last year did an entire fully digital festival with awards and prizes, but of course we missed the Crusette and
Of course.
all the meetings, the physical meetings, and the business meetings we do there.
And briefly, there are highs and lows, there are pros and cons in everything, and we've learned a lot. What will you bring with you after the pandemic? Changes that you might have been through, or things that you have implemented quicker than normal? What will, in the new normal, whatever that is, what will you in your different businesses bring along for the future?
Well, the most simple answer I could give is that I really enjoy the possibility of meeting digital.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can save time traveling and environment at the same time by just accepting this. And I think it's a bit of a generation shift.
Yes.
The people in my age and over that, there are a few still there. But no, I think they have been forced into something that was impossible a couple of years ago. So I think that's a good thing. And I think also the presence at the offices and do you really have to come in every day? No, of course not. And it's going to be the new future, of course. But you also have to be open for that and allow and stimulate, encourage your co-workers to, yes, of course, like Spotify says now, you can work from anywhere, whenever you want, as long as you do work, and we trust you.
Yes.
It's simple as that. But I think for some organizations, it's a big challenge. But I think that will happen. And for the young people now coming into employment, they will ask for, how much can I work from home? I want to buy a cheap house in the countryside. Can I work from home 3 days a week?
Yes. And with that, what will you, I will hand over to you as well, Frida, but it's so interesting, what will you require from the future office spaces or meeting hubs, or what do you need to have there?
Well, a total well-equipped digital office that makes it easy. It shouldn't be a hassle to come in. And I'm really up to working with the activity-based workspaces and all that, but some people hate it. I think it's quite nice actually to work in that environment as long as everything works out. That it's a little bit of a challenge, but you should also remember that it has a meaning of sitting together, like our office here, in small groups, meeting the same people, probably most of the time. So that's the good part, because you know what the drill is every day. But the good with the activity-based workspaces is that you meet new people and get new influences, new discussions. So it's a goods and bads.
So you find the creativity, the creative spots at home or outside and at the office when they're. That's good.
And I must say, people get more effective working from home. That's really proven. The research has now come to the conclusion that it is very effective. I mean, I see my wife, she's working really, concentrated, and she doesn't get disturbed with, of course, with the phone and email and whatever. But that's the same within office. But you do get rid of all the, other stuff.
You find your way.
But you need social interaction.
Yes, you do. I must say, I feel much more energized today.
And especially for the creative process, I think.
Of course.
So I think that at the office you need the creativity spaces and rooms and so on, and also the opportunity to choose. Do I want to sit down with my computer in a room with just me and myself, or do I want to sit down with other people and talk in between meetings and so on. So another generation is quite welcoming this development. We asked for that before, like we said, hey, what's going on? Why don't we have digital meetings? And why are we not sharing documents at Google Drive or platforms like that? So I think that in the beginning we were a lot of people that welcomed that development because it was quite a quick move from working in a different way. But at the same time, we wish that we can come back as soon as possible to meet, you know, during a coffee or because that is where things really happen. But one thing that I take into the future is also the question about what kind of position do we as a book fair want to, you know, have in the future. And I think it's very important for us to tell the world that book fairs is not just about the exhibition where we buy or sell books. It's also about the meeting that doesn't really happen in the regular day during the days. It's about more like a festival or festival of freedom of speech, and it's very important for the debate and you know, for people to have these platforms, because what will happen with our society if we wake up after the pandemic and we don't have the cinemas, we don't have the fairs, we don't have all these platforms? I don't think that will be good for the humanity.
It's true.
Thank you. Excellent. So what you're saying is that we have had to be creative during this year to keep creativity. The book will survive, the fairs will survive, the films will survive, we will go back to the movie theaters, and we will also use other platforms, so we have learned a lot. I must say, as I said before, it's been extremely energizing to stand here, even at a distance, but to have you here today, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
The subject of creativity will always be high on our agenda in Global Business Gate, as this is the ambience of the environment we want to create. We have had extreme challenges the latest year, and we have persisted and learned, and we will, from Global Business Gate, gather other guests at future events to discuss this topic, and probably already in a couple of weeks' time. But today we are so happy and grateful that you shared your experience, Frida and Mikael, and good luck with your business. As a small gesture of appreciation to you and to our students, we are close also to our neighborhood, and we have donated a small sum to the social charity Räddningsmissionen, as we always do, as a thank you. And finally, we want to thank all of you following us today, watching our discussion. Send us any comments, any feedback, any suggestion that you might have. Stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.